My dad dragged me by the hair out of the house. I screamed. I'm in labor. Don't start your drama. Your screaming's ruining your sister's future, Mom said. They had no idea what I would do next. Hey, Reddit. I was 39 weeks pregnant when the contractions started. Slow at first, but steady. I was in the kitchen, folding tiny socks on the old table my dad always said was too cluttered for a man's house. My hands trembled a bit, not from fear of the pain, but from the knowledge that I'd have to ask for help in a house where I was barely tolerated. I didn't live here by choice. My fiancé, Michael, had died in a car accident just 6 weeks earlier. A drunk driver left me, widowed, unemployed, and pregnant in the same breath. My parents said they'd take me back in out of pity, not love, not family. Pity. My older sister, Paige, still lived at home by choice. No job, no goals, just endless spa appointments and influencer dreams that never left the screen. And still, she was the princess, the miracle child. I was just the burden that cried too much. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I placed a hand on my belly and winced as another contraction rolled through. Dad, I got called down the hall. It's starting. I think I need to go to the hospital. The TV was blaring in the living room. Some political rant Paige always had on to make her feel like an intellectual. My mom was nowhere in sight, probably with her wine and white noise machine in the sunroom. Dad, I said again louder now. Then he appeared slowly, like I just interrupted something sacred. Do you have any idea what time it is? He snapped. Your sister is recording her podcast. I'm in labor, I said breathlessly, gripping the table edge. I need help. You couldn't hold it until morning. His voice was dripping with disdain, like I was a dog begging to be let out. It doesn't work like that, I said through gritted teeth. You always do this, he muttered, turning to walk away. Drama queen since birth. I barely made it to the front hallway before another contraction hit, harder this time. I knelt down, tears stinging my eyes. I called out again. Dad, please. Then I heard Paige's door swing open. Are you kidding me right now? She shouted, mascara wand in hand. I told you I had an interview with that makeup brand tonight. This is my big break. She's doing this for attention. She always ruins everything. It's not attention, I croaked. The baby, he's coming. Dad stormed back in. You've already taken too much from this house, he growled. Now you want to ruin your sister's future too. Before I could answer, he grabbed my arm and yanked me upright. Pain shot through my back. Dad, stop. But he didn't. He dragged me by the wrist at first, then by the hair when I tripped on the mat. My knees scraped the tile. I screamed, begged, sobbed. You're not gonna wreck this night, he hissed. You already wrecked your life. He opened the door and flung it wide into the cold air. Go have your bastard kid in the street. Dad, please. He grabbed a fistful of my hair and dragged me out the door. I collapsed on the porch, clutching my belly. The pain was unbearable. A car drove by and slowed for a second, but then kept going. My mother peeked from the window for half a second and closed the curtain. And Paige, she laughed. This is why nobody loves you, she said, still holding her phone. The door slammed shut. I was alone in labor on the porch. I don't remember crawling down the steps. I don't remember how I made it to the sidewalk. But I remember the woman, a nurse getting off shift, pulling into the driveway next door. She jumped out of her car and ran to me. Oh my God. Are you in labor? I could barely speak. I just nodded and pointed toward my belly. Within minutes, she had me in the passenger seat of her car with the heat cranked up. She held my hand as she dialed the hospital. I saw the way he pulled you, she whispered, trembling. He could have killed you both. That night, my son was born. Healthy. Screaming. Eyes like his father's. I named him Chance because that's what I never got in that house. A real chance. But the silence that followed wasn't mine. It was theirs because I never answered their calls. Never sent a photo. Never texted back. Not even when my dad left 20 voicemails saying, you overreacted. But what I did next was quieter than revenge and louder than rage. The hospital kept me for 3 nights, not because of complications, but because I begged them not to discharge me yet. I wasn't ready to go back into the world. I wasn't ready to be reminded that the people who were supposed to protect me left me screaming in the cold. The nurse who found me, her name was Lorraine, visited me every morning before her next shift. She brought me snacks, swaddled Chance when my arms trembled, and never asked questions that hurt. Just stayed. I'll never forget her face when I asked, voice shaking. Do you think I deserved it? She didn't answer with a yes or no. She leaned down, kissed my forehead, and said, "Nobody who deserves pain asks if they do." That stuck. When we were finally discharged, I didn't call my parents. I didn't text Paige. I didn't even take a cab to their house. I used Lorraine's address as my emergency contact and walked with Chance in my arms to the women's shelter she volunteered at twice a month. It was quiet, warm, and kind. They gave me a bed, a blanket, formula, dignity. And when one of the women in the bunk across from me said, "He looks like someone who's going to rewrite your whole story," I cried for the first time since labor, not from fear, but from hope. 3 weeks passed. Then a letter came. No return address, but I recognized it. The handwriting, like it was carved into my spine. My mother's cursive, pretty and poisonous. "We're worried sick. You've embarrassed the whole family. If you don't return soon, your room will be cleared and given to someone who actually contributes." No mention of Chance. Not one word about the baby. Just threats wrapped in fake concern. I didn't reply. 3 more letters followed, then voicemails. One where my father said, "You can't hold a grudge forever. It's childish." Another from Paige, "You ruined my career, you know. I had to reschedule with the brand 3 times, all because of your drama." And then came the voicemail that twisted something inside me so deep I could hardly breathe. "You should be grateful we didn't call the cops for trespassing. That's still our house. You had no right to bleed all over a porch like that." I stood in the hallway of the shelter holding my phone like it was a weapon. A few women around me looked up. One of them, a mother of 2, who had just gotten away from a man who used to lock her in a laundry room, said quietly, "You okay?" I wasn't, but I nodded because something had shifted. I stopped crying about what they did and started thinking. Not revenge. Not yet. Something colder. Something they'd never hear coming. Over the next year, I worked hard. I took every overnight shift at a local diner that would let me baby wear in the back while I washed dishes. I walked with Chance in a second-hand stroller through snow just to make it to GED classes. I borrowed textbooks from library bins, ate staff leftovers, learned budgeting from a shelter volunteer who used to be an accountant before her husband gambled everything away. And then one day, I applied to a tech apprenticeship program that offered on-site childcare. 3 interviews later, I was in, and my silence grew louder. On Chance's first birthday, I posted a photo on social media. Just me and him in a small park. No tags. No caption. But they saw it. I knew they did because not an hour later, Paige sent me a private message. "Wow. Still trying to look like a saint. So fake. You've always had a victim complex." I didn't reply, but that message confirmed one thing. They were watching, not caring, watching, waiting to be proven right about me being a failure. So I made sure they never got the satisfaction. By the time Chance was 2, I had moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. Modest but clean. I hung his drawings on the fridge, labeled every Tupperware with sticky notes because he liked colors. I was earning just enough to stop checking the gas meter, like it was a countdown. But I wasn't done. Because what they didn't know was that during that year, I'd started recording things. No. Not videos. Not calls. Memories. Dates. Events. Proof. Every cruel voicemail. Every line from those letters. Every witness from the shelter who remembered me arriving, limping, and sobbing with a hand over my belly. I started building a digital journal. Documented timeline, transcripts, screenshots. I didn't want to sue them. I didn't want to shame them publicly. I wanted to outlive them quietly with evidence. I wanted the day to come when they needed something from me, and I'd give them nothing but that silence they shoved me into on the porch. And that day, it came, but not in a way they expected. It was 3.5 years later when I got the call. I was at work, sitting in the break room with a cup of vending machine coffee, watching Chance build a little train track under the table. He was humming to himself, quiet and focused like always. The receptionist peeked in and said, "Hey. There's a man on the line asking for you, says it's urgent." I hadn't heard my father's voice in years, but I knew it instantly. "Your sister's in trouble," he said, skipping past any pleasantries. "She's at the hospital. She had a breakdown. A bad one." I didn't speak. "Your mother's hysterical," he continued. "We've been trying to reach you for hours. We thought maybe you'd show some maturity and put the past aside." Still, I said nothing. "She kept saying your name," he added, his voice suddenly softer. "Said she needed you." And that was the first time I felt nothing. Not rage, not heartbreak. Nothing. I ended the call without a word. 10 minutes later, I received a text from an unknown number. It was Paige. "Please come. Please." I didn't know I was that cruel until it came back to me. I see it now. I see it. Please. For a second. Just 1 second. I almost cried. Then I remembered the sound of her laugh when I was dragged out into the cold. And I remembered the voicemail about bleeding on the porch. And I remembered my son's first breath, taken without family, without flowers, without a single person in that room who shared my blood. And I replied with a single text. "You told me I ruin everything. I didn't want to ruin your recovery." I turned my phone off for a week after that, but the messages didn't stop. Eventually, my mother reached out directly. She wrote an email, lengthy, dramatic, laced with passive-aggressive regret. She said they were confused during that time, said Paige had been going through stress, said they weren't perfect parents, but tried their best. And then buried in the middle of the email like it was nothing. "We're selling the house, and the buyer said it would mean a lot if you came to sign something for the historical family record. Your birth certificate is framed in the study." They were selling the house. The house. The one I bled on. The one I was dragged out of. The one where my cries went unanswered, and my labor was called an inconvenience. That night, I didn't sleep. I watched Chance snore softly in his bed, arms wrapped around a stuffed turtle, and I thought if I go back, it has to be on my terms. My silence wasn't just absence, it was power, and this is the moment I proved that. So I showed up alone. I wore a black coat and simple heels, no makeup, no smile. They weren't expecting me to actually come. I could see it in my mother's tight jaw, in my father's frozen posture by the stairs, in Paige's eyes, tired, hollow, rimmed in red. The house looked smaller. I looked stronger. "I came for the certificate," I said. "We framed it," my mother said, leading me to the study like it was some sort of trophy she was handing over. And there it was. My name, my birth weight, the day I entered a world that didn't want me. I stared at it for a long time. "Why did you want this?" I finally asked. "For the new owners." My father cleared his throat. "Just thought you might want a memory." I turned slowly to face them. Memory. Then I took the frame off the wall and gently removed the certificate. I folded it, placed it in my purse, and slipped something else into the frame. A photo, black and white. One Paige had sent me years ago without realizing it. A photo of her standing in front of the porch, laughing, while I lay on the steps in labor, clutching my stomach. Michael had taken a screenshot from her short-lived blog before the post was deleted. I placed it inside the frame and hung it back on the wall. "That's the memory," I said. "That's the truth." My mother's face went pale. Why would you?" "Because silence is the loudest thing you'll ever hear," I whispered. "And I want every stranger who walks through this house to hear it." I left before they could speak again. That night, I took Chance to dinner. I didn't mention the visit. I just asked him how many turtles he thought could fit in the sky if we counted them like stars. He laughed. And that was the only legacy I needed. Let them live with the silence I left behind. Because silence, when wielded with truth, becomes a symphony they can never escape. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where you're watching.